It's important to study English because language has power. And being able to understand the history of language and how it's been used over time and in our current era helps us be able to take control of that power and use it now and in the future.
I've learned to express myself with the written word more clearly. I've been given the tools with different structural techniques and all the good stuff that have made me a stronger writer, a stronger communicator.
You're going to learn not just the content of your major, whether it's English or history or whatever. You're going to learn how to learn. You're going to learn how to apply that learning and adapt as conditions change.
Writing is inherently experiential because students have to take so many important skills like critical thinking, communication, analysis, and translate those thoughts into a piece of oral or written communication, and then learn by doing how to be more effective communicators.
The English program at Brevard College prepares you for success in whatever field you choose to major in, whether it's theater, whether it's in the sciences or math, whether it's in business. The ability to communicate is important in no matter where you go, and one of the skills we teach is how to communicate clearly with your audience, whoever that may be.
The community here at Brevard, whether it be faculty, students, staff, are all people who learn and grow together. We learn from each other. There's no place where I don't feel welcome on campus, and that's the best part of that liberal arts education, is you're stepping into different learning styles and different content than you do at any old college where you don't get to grow the brain. It's a culture that encourages self-expression. You're allowed to be you here.
nominations were sent to the alumni office, and inductees were selected by the Alumni Advisory Board, and I see some of you out there today. Thanks for coming. Brevard College has many outstanding men and women who make a difference in our world today. Recognizing them is one small way we can honor their achievements and show future alumni what Brevard College can do for them. Our 2023 distinguished alumni are Carlos and Sharon Beatty Perez from the class of 1963. Carlos Perez and Sharon Beatty Perez have been named Brevard College's 2023 distinguished alumni. The couple arrived from Brevard in the fall of 1961 and have stayed true to their alma mater ever since. Sharon was from Hickory, North Carolina, and Carlos was from Cuba. Both Carlos and Sharon were very involved as students. Carlos was a member of Brevard College's student government, Men's House Council, the Delphin Society, and the Men's Intramural Council, all while playing baseball for Brevard College. Sharon was the secretary for the Women's Society and the Business Club, while also being a member of the Glee Club and Halloween Queen in 1962. Carlos and Sharon created an endowed scholarship at Brevard College in 2020, named the Carlos and Sharon Perez Endowed Scholarship. This fund supports a deserving student each year who is a business and organizational student, criminal justice major, or a health science studies major who demonstrates financial needs. Carlos and Sharon were also inducted into the Institute Circle last homecoming. This circle recognizes donors at Brevard College who have given $100,000 to $250,000 in lifetime giving. Carlos and Sharon truly embody the college's motto of learn in order to serve. Both are heavily involved in their community and give back whenever they can. They both have been on mission trips through their church and help with their church's camps while helping others receive an education. I would like to now ask Maria Turnley, their daughter, to say a few words.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you everyone for this nice event to honor alumnus, among others I know that are being recognized as well. So as Megan said, my name is Maria Perez Turnley, and I'm the oldest, and maybe the favorite, child of Carlos and Sharon Perez. My younger brother Patrick is also here with his wife, my sister-in-law Edie, and they have two children, Steve and Sally, and I have two adult children as well, Eric and Lauren, who's now married. I have a son-in-law Michael and grandson Ryder. Since I can ever remember, we knew in our home that Brevard College was where it all began. Mom and Dad frequently spoke of Brevard fondly and shared stories of their meeting and the fun times they had while attending school here. I remember them saying that Brevard was the land where water falls rather than the land of waterfalls. We visited Brevard College at least once when we were children, and I can remember the bushes that were pointed out as a place to sneak a kiss with your sweetheart, as well as our visit to Sliding Rock, also a place Mom and Dad frequented as college kids. After leaving Brevard, Dad went on to further his education at Wake Forest University, and then on to UNC Chapel Hill for graduate school. In 1965, Mom and Dad were married, and I came along in 1968. Mom worked at the bank on campus, and Dad finished school at UNC, after which they moved to Wilmington for Dad to take a job as a professor at UNC Wilmington. This also put us closer to our grandparents. In 1972, after moving to Wilmington, Patrick was born. Patrick and I were raised in Wilmington, and it was a great place to grow up, near the beach with a small town feel, but big enough to have plenty to do. I graduated from UNC Wilmington with a nursing degree, and my brother graduated from NC State with an engineering degree. He now lives with his family in Apex, and I live in Wilmington. We were raised to work hard, and my parents both worked hard. My mom returned to school in her 40s to obtain a degree in dental hygiene. She worked for many years as a hygienist while also holding down the home front and managing the side hustle or business that Dad was building. You see, in the summers while on break from teaching at the university, he began painting houses to supplement the family income, and because he can't sit still. That grew into a very successful entrepreneurship of refurbishing houses and converting them into rental property. While this was Dad's baby, and who poured himself physically and mentally into his work, Mom was always behind the scenes helping with payroll, running errands, or making sure that we were taken care of. I very distinctly remember that my dad was always up early, sitting at his desk in the tiny office in our home, either grading papers, arranging logistics with the rental property, or paying bills. What I also remember is that my mom and dad were always a team. It was not unusual for either of them to cart us around, to take us to school or practice, or make sure we were getting our homework done. Despite working hard, they always made time for family. This was a priority in our home. And we often gathered with my grandparents. My maternal grandmother also came to live with us in the 80s, and she was a part of our family daily. Birthdays and holidays were always spent together as a family. We were expected to be there for one another, and that was the example that Mom and Dad set for us. They attended our sporting events, musical performances, and school functions. They also made sure that we had family vacations, whether it be to a week's stay at a nearby, less busy beach, or a trip up the East Coast for sightseeing. There was always time set aside for family. Church was also a priority in our home. We were actively involved, and attending church as a family on Sunday morning was not an option. Our grandparents attended the same church, so often Sundays were filled with church activities and family. So nowadays, Dad is still hustling as he's able, still dabbling in flipping houses, though much slower and a little more low-key. And Mom is still behind the scenes helping him and managing other domestic matters. They are still happily married, 58 years, though they do have their moments, and they are proud parents, grandparents, and now great-grandparents. And while they instilled in us the value of family, church, education, and hard work, the most important value that we learned was loyalty and integrity. They wanted us, above all, to be good people, and they taught this by being a great example. And to think Brevard College was truly where it all began for us. So I'd like to introduce my parents, Carlos and Sharon Perez, and you guys can come on. Being a Latin American, he's much more emotional than
Well, as I just mentioned, I brought a napkin, tell you a little story. I cry for everything. Cry for graduation, births, weddings. I remember my daughter's wedding. We were walking down the aisle, she said, "Dad, you're going to ruin my makeup." I said, "Oh, we'll just wipe it out." But Marty has said some of what I was going to say. I apologize. I do get emotional. Brevard was my first home in this country. I had just arrived by myself to the U.S., not having any connections. I was just kind of dangling. I spent 10 days in Miami. I'll get over. I spent 10 days in Miami. Then went to Lakeland, where they graciously gave me my high school diploma without knowing English. And I still don't know why. I guess they liked me. Then I wanted to go to college, but didn't have any money, didn't have any connections. Went to work in construction in Tennessee. And one day I received a phone call from Coach Neil Cohen. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot of bad words while I was working in construction. And I said to myself, why in the hell is this guy calling me? In the middle of Tennessee, working in construction, they coach of baseball. Well, I'll make a little back. A professor from my school in Cuba came to teach at Brevard. This professor's daughter dated the first baseman on the team that I played baseball for in my high school. So this guy came to see me play baseball in Cuba. I was a very good baseball player. I was offered a professional contract at age 16. I had some teammates that went to Memphis, but I'm not going to go there. But this professor told, I guess, Coach Cohn, that he knew this Cuban kid that needed a place to go. And it was a break in my life because Coach Cohn called me. He sent me money for a Greyhound ticket. I came, I remember, I think Danny, who's around here, Danny Bost, was there. And I think Doug Scott, we went to Camp Strauss, and I did 4 line drives. And Coach said, I've seen enough. And I knew why, because I could hit. I got a scholarship, and I came here, and the first day on campus, we met. No, she doesn't make me cry. We had a good life. I have worked very hard. I have an education, but I always tell people that the financial wealth that I have achieved, which I'm very grateful for, I kind of tell you the money is, to me, is just an instrument. It's not, doesn't make me any better than you or anything like that. I will die very happy knowing that I've only drunk 1 Starbucks in my life. I will not drink the second. I've always been very careful with my money. I was only allowed to pay $10 out of Cuba. That's all that allows. And I walked by store that had a rotating thing with apple pies, and I love apple pie. And I couldn't buy one. Well, I knew I was going to Lakeland, Florida the next day, and I left Miami with $9.75. I went and bought a slice of apple pie. But I've always, since I had to sweat it so hard, and I was grateful when I realized teachers, at least I didn't make that much money. I started painting, and before that summer I had 2 kids in my church working with me, and then when I closed, I had about 20-some painters, and then I started buying old houses, and I like the fun of. By the way, I'm on a first-name basis with all the employees at the landfill in New Hanover County. They know me, and they say, "Where have you been, Carlos? If I'm missing a week or so, because I take the debris over there." But I don't mind working physically. I enjoy it. I respect people that work with their hands, and the only thing I can say is I'm grateful for my family, for my health, for the desire that I've always have had to work. I don't think God put us on this planet to be parasites and to just go out with their hands, give me. I'll give you and I'll help you, but you have to pedal on the bicycle too. It takes. So I've always believed I am not a softie that if I hear a soft story, I'm going to, I like to help people, but you have to help yourself. And we live in a country that, fortunately, we still have the opportunity to hustle and work and do something with your life. And I'm just grateful. It doesn't make me. She knows that I don't wear chains. We don't believe in. It's just something to be able to help the church, the college, the kids, and so forth. So I appreciate Brevard more than Brevard knows. I appreciate Gil Combs' father, the coach, who was a very nice man. I wish I had a chance to know him, but I enjoyed him a lot. I'll give you a quick story. I was cut. Those of you who play baseball know if you're on second base and the ball gets into the left side, you stay put. You don't go to third. Just stay put. When I took off to third base as a dummy, I get cut up on the rundown. I make it to third base. I felt good. Oh, I've discovered a new world. Coach Cohn was just standing there next to me, didn't say a word, just looking at me. So the evening is over. I go to the bench, and he comes next to me very softly and says, "What the hell were you doing?" And he was that kind of soft-spoken but very gentle man. And I never had a chance to say to the Perez's. I assume that he's the one that told Coach Cohn about me, because it guided me into the life that I've had. We have enjoyed women, we have wonderful kids. I have no complaints about them occasionally. And our grandkids have turned out to be good too. I have nothing else. She's a wonderful wife. She puts up with me. She's very gentle. I'm the one that has a little, but you know, sometimes having that home is good. But I appreciate the president and this. I don't think we deserve this. We do it with pleasure. It's a pleasure to help the college and help kids who need it. And anything else? I don't need. I didn't prepare notes because Megan told me you only have 5 minutes. But that's about all. Thank you very much for
Congratulations, Carlos and Sharon. Now we'll move on to our 2023 Distinguished Faculty. I would like to ask Dr. Jennifer Caskey, the Chair of the Experiential Education Division here at DC, to come up and introduce one of our 2023 Distinguished Faculty members, Dr. John Buford.
Thank you, Megan. So today we gather here to celebrate many exceptional individuals whose contributions have left an indelible mark in our community. And I am here with great admiration and an immense amount of gratitude to stand before you to introduce our friend and colleague, Dr. John Buford, for such recognition. John is honored here today and will receive the well-deserved Distinguished Faculty Award for his outstanding work as a leadership educator. I'll begin with some details about his leadership experience and then on to some statements to help us understand the sphere of his influence. John Buford joined the Brevard College faculty in 2009 as a member of the Wilderness Leadership and Experiential Education Program team. And I've had the honor of knowing John and his family, his wife Mindy, his sons Dustin and Randy, many furry friends that are sweet and sometimes mischievous, and had the opportunity to be in their beautiful home as they welcomed many of our students and alum for our end-of-year celebrations. During John's time here, he has led several immersion semesters, Voice of the River expeditions on the Neuse, the Rappahannock, Savannah rivers, many celebrations at his home, as I mentioned, and Willie's socials, and has led the program as our coordinator until his retirement in 2020. John joined Brevard College after his exemplary service as an officer in the U.S. Marine Corps for 24 years. He also brought extensive experience in as a field instructor for the North Carolina Outward Bound School. And John just told me this is his 21st year doing that. John's unique set of professional experiences provided a really strong basis for his decade-plus of exceptional leadership within our program and beyond. In addition to service of our country to DC in the professional field of outdoor education, John served our local community prolifically. John has been an active leader in the Pisgah Forest Rotary Club, leading the annual fundraiser, Assaulting the Carolinas Bicycle Ride through the county and adjoining counties. And you can see his team in action the first weekend in April in 2024, which will be their 24th year. John is also a professional leadership coach and consultant, has been actively involved in serving a variety of community outdoor educational nonprofit organizations over the years. John Buford and his lifelong friend, Sean George, wrote the quintessential book, I think quintessential book on leadership. After many years of collaboration, their labor of love on mission, Your Journey to Authentic Leadership was published in August 2022. John and Sean were lifelong friends, as I said, both former officers in the U.S. Marine Corps, and shared a combined 80 years of leadership experience in military, business, nonprofit, and education. I think they captured their lifelong learning to create a guide, or they intended to capture their lifelong learning to create a guide for those who aspire to lead authentically across the spectrum of their lives by taking responsibility for and community to their unique learning journey. From my perspective, I think this is essential reading and really exemplifies John's career as a leader.
John's colleagues and students know him to be one whose actions embodies his principles, and this book captures these principles perfectly. In our world, there are a spectrum of leaders, from those who lead charismatically with self at the center, to those who inspire and seek to know self and grow their capacities to serve others. John undoubtedly falls into the latter. John leads wholeheartedly and from a truly authentic place. His actions are rooted in his values, and he's intentionally focused on his journey and growth. Students in his class examine leadership through the movie White Squall. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. And I believe it also exemplifies John's leadership. If you have, you might remember Chuck's quote, "You can't run from the wind, you face the music, trim your sails, and keep going." John was shown by example how to navigate the tough times of life, to find the opportunity within the adversity, and to as gracefully as possible keep on going. To prepare for this introduction, I interviewed a variety of students and colleagues to understand their journey with John. The consistent message, through and through, was that he is a leader who inspires us to believe in ourselves, to see our authentic value, potential, and purpose. Over the years, John has not only developed depth in knowledge, skills, and values in his students, he has also ignited the flames of leadership within countless people's lives he has touched. Today, we gather to celebrate a mentor, a role model, an educator who has made a lasting impact on the lives of many, and in doing so, I'd like to share a few of those stories about John. What truly sets John Brevard apart is not just his expertise, exceptional and diverse experiences, and his ability to inspire, but his genuine care for every student who crosses his path. John was not just a teacher, he was a mentor, a friend, and a guiding light to help illuminate the powers within. One of John's tenets is that an authentic leader's primary responsibility is to care for their people. John exemplifies this belief in his action, and his students have shared consistently how much they think he cared. And I think these stories will help show that too. Kate Chomp shared, "During my time at Brevard College, John acted as more than a professor. He consistently went above and beyond for me. My 21st birthday occurred on our 21-day expedition. To celebrate, John got up extra early, well before the rest of the crew, to make and surprise us with cinnamon rolls to celebrate. This thoughtful effort meant the world to me." John is a servant leader through and through. She also remembered closely how easily he kept a sense of calm in the midst of their bear encounter while backpacking in Canada. Anna Danko shared, "John Brevard has taught me many lessons in life skills, but most importantly, he taught me to believe in myself, to advocate for myself, to keep going even when I felt like quitting. I will always cherish the lessons and memories that I was so fortunate to be able to have with John as my professor." David Lackey, alum and currently part of the Lilly faculty, shared, "John was my advisor while I was a student at BC. He was my first role model of what an outdoor educator is and could be. John taught, instructed, and advised with the same professionalism, compassion, and patience that I continue to strive for today. John also taught me the importance of preparedness, the power of exuding quiet, service-centered leadership, while still holding high expectations for presence and a strong professional work ethic." Alum Molly Brown had a lot to say. She remembers the moment that she decided on Brevard College based on John's conversation and caring connection with her on her very nervous moment at Scholarship Day. Over the course of her time here, she said that having never really been camping before in her whole life, that she had little confidence in her own abilities, and John helped to change that time and time again. She shared that John repeatedly helped provide validation for her strengths and honest, growth-oriented feedback during her immersion semester. Her most important lesson learned was that on her last final exam in her advanced navigation class, she remembers this most from their conversation. "Molly, you need to stop basing your self-worth on your grades." She said John helped her recognize to move past that focus and help her realize she is more than her measured accomplishments. He helped her see that she truly had much to offer the world, and this very much was the reason she felt confident to move into her career in wellness therapy, and then again on to another part of her career with North Carolina Outward Bound School, which she didn't believe she had the skills to do, but John really helped her see. Since her graduation, he has celebrated these key moments with her, and she carries these learnings with her every day. John, in a world that needs leaders of your kind and quality, your selfless service as a colleague stands as a shining example of what it truly means to lead with heart and humility. Thank you for being the guiding light of servant leadership in our world. for creating the environment to nurture the development of such leaders. Thank you for being a wholehearted, authentic, and inspiring colleague and friend. It is an honor to introduce Dr. John Brevard, a true exemplar of kind, authentic, and ethical servant leadership. John, your dedication to the advancement of leadership education and the betterment of our world serves as an inspiration to us all. We join together to celebrate you today. John, will you please come up as we extend our warmest congratulations and gratitude for you as you receive this well-deserved Distinguished Faculty Award.
Jenny, you continue to be a wonderful friend and colleague and mentor to me, and I appreciate it. They told me I had 5 minutes, so I did make notes. So when I published that book, the publisher said I needed to have, I said, where do acknowledgments go? Wanting to acknowledge those along my leadership journey that had mentored and taught me. I said they go in the back and you just write a short paragraph about each mentor. And so as Jenny mentioned, I had a career in the military, and so I thought back of all the people that affected me, and not surprisingly, I came up with a list of sergeants and colonels and generals, like 6 or 7 of them, the people that most affected me. But then I thought, well, one of the tenets of our book and our philosophy is that the leadership journey never ends. Like you never reach the finish line. So by doing that, I was basically saying I stopped learning about leadership at 41 years old. And since I've been at Brevard College and out here, I've learned a lot. And I thought, well, who has taught me about leadership since I left the Marine Corps? She's in the office right next to me, Jenny Cassie. She embodies servant leadership. There's a quip or a saying somewhere that says, it makes me think of Jenny, what keep yourself disappears, what you give to others multiplies. And I think that speaks so much to Jenny and the leadership that she's shown the students, the staff, the faculty, and all around campus. So thank you, Jenny. When I got out of the Marine Corps, retired from the Marine Corps, and then retired from the college, I quickly learned that you go from the list of who's who quickly to a list of who's he, question mark. So when Megan, when she called and said I've been given this award, I thought, well, who the heck would nominate me? And she said, Kim Williams, class of 2011. Joe, I don't know if you know Kim? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Kim Williams, she's a legendary alumni, probably on the list of who's who alumni. Kim was a brand new student when I was a brand new faculty member, and I think I had her in my first class on my first day at Brevard College. So she was a little nervous, I was a little nervous. I'm on the front porch of Ross Hall, on Ross Hall Hill, waiting, and of course Kim, being Kim, shows up 5 minutes early, ready for class, and we're making an awkward small talk, and Kim, standing up there on Ross Hall Hill, looks out over the ball diamond, looks out over the tennis courts, and says, the mountains here in North Carolina are gorgeous. So where are you from? Well, Kim's from Melbourne, Florida, right? So, context. I told her that was a big mountain. My point of that story is to poke fun at Kim, because she's climbed many more mountains than I have since. But the point is that I want to make is that our students show up here just primed for personal growth. And the growth potential in our students is just amazing. I mean, they're open book. And I tried to bring that philosophy with me to Brevard College. I was always uncomfortable with the title professor. Certainly we did a lot of professing, but it seems very limited. When I was in the military, all the schools, which I had the pleasure to teach at, a lot of the academies, attended not just the mental, but the physical and the moral aspects development of young people. And I think that's what drew me to Brevard College in particular, and even more specifically to the Willie program. And my colleagues, Jenny Caskey, Robert Dye, and Clyde Carter, who's, I'm sure, is probably going up the mountain or down the river right now. I think all did a good job of that. I think all across campus. We made clear expectations of our students and of ourselves. We held students responsible and gave them real responsibility and held them accountable for their actions. And I think that that's the way that all BC employees, whether it's faculty, staff, coaches, all try to treat our students. If I ask anybody in the room what the most important lesson was from college, it probably wouldn't be a math equation or a piece of literature, right? I think all of us would probably say something more like responsibility, hard work, work ethic, those type of things. I think that's something that Brevard College has been and continues to do a really good job of. The motto, learn in order to serve, I think is really a strong, short and strong statement. I think it puts the means and ends dyad in context. I think that's really important. That's something that we should also always be proud of here at Brevard College and nurture as we go forward. Let's remember and be proud of that. Thank you, Dr. Andrews. Appreciate your continued stewardship of this school. Thank you to the Alumni Board. Thank you to Megan and your team for putting on this great event. And Hannah for showing up. My wife Mindy and my surprise Dustin, son that came. And friends Nicole and Spalding. Really appreciate it and we'll value your support forever. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, John. Last but not least, for our Gallery of Distinguished Awards, I would like to invite alumnus Wes Vanisic, class of 02, and Alan Murray to the podium to present Dr. Robert Bob White's award.
Good evening. As Megan mentioned, my name is Wes Vanisic, class 2002. I'm honored to be receiving this award, this Distinguished Faculty Award, on behalf of Bob White this evening with his friend Al Murray. It's funny, if Bob White were here right now, he would be flailing his arms and asking me the question, Wes, why in the heck do you not have your script, or in this case, your speech, memorized? You're up here in the Porter Center talking about me, Bob White, and yet you're reading off the script. For that, I would say, Bob, I'm sorry. I first met Bob in 1997 at the Barn Theater before the Porter Center was open. And I approached Bob in an audition and said, Dr. White, thank you for this opportunity. He said, don't call me that. I said, okay, Professor White, please stop me mid-sentence. Don't call me that. Just call me Bob. And at that point, I knew there was a connection, there was a bond. And this was the place for me to be. He saw work ethic, not just only in me, but in his other students as well over the time. And Bob was much more than a professor. He was a friend to many. He was a special human being. Bob served as the head of the Theater Arts program here from 1991 until 2009. At this time, I'd like to share some things that Bob did at Brevard College and in the community during his tenure and afterwards. Many of you don't know this, but Bob directed the first theater program, and really any program for that matter, here in the Porter Center in October of 1998. And I was honored to be a part of that play, Antigone, A Greek Tragedy, next door in the Black Box Theater. And we christened the Porter Center. It was the first thing that ever took place in this beautiful facility. Bob also served as the director for the 2-week summer arts program at the college, growing it in number of applicants and efficiency. He supported Brevard High School's Sound of Music production. As a volunteer, director, and mentor, he was a supporter of the Brevard Community Theater as well, through directional, technical, and facility support. And he founded the Robert Allen White Endowed Scholarship for the Theater Arts program here at Brevard College in remembrance of his parents. But most of all, and most importantly, Bob demanded the most out of his students, both on stage and in the classroom. He required us to lend our minds and our bodies to the characters that we portrayed, to become them, if only for a short while. Next door in the Black Box Theater, which is a theater in the round, for those of you who may not know theater, or as Bob would call it, the theater of intimidation. Because of this, Bob has hundreds of former students throughout the world, some of which are here tonight, who are making a difference every day because they learned how to be the best possible human being they could be through the innovative teachings of Bob. I stayed connected with Bob until his passing in 2021. The last time I saw Bob was at homecoming in 2019. My friend Murph and I visited Bob in his house in Skyline. Although his health was declining at the time, he still has wit about him. He'd be very serious one moment and then reveal the next that it was all a big joke. Like nothing had ever changed. Bob had a tattoo on his forearm in college, and I always wondered what that tattoo meant. And the best way to describe that, it was defined as, quote-unquote, it meant good chaos. I'd like to leave you with the last thing that Bob left me, which was a poem he found in its entirety that speaks to his tattoo and the way he taught and the way he lived. Before the beginning of great brilliance, there must be chaos. Before a brilliant person becomes something great, they must look foolish to the crowd. This honor for Bob is very well deserved. I'm glad the college has recognized him for this award. May his legacy live on always, and may we all strive to lead a quote-unquote good chaos life to the fullest, just like Bob did. Bob, thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for believing in me and others and taking a chance on us. We love you. We thank you. And this moment tonight is for you.
As I look around the room, there are a few faces here that probably know me. I may not know names, but I know faces from things that you've seen me with Bob do. He was very big in the community. That's what I'm here to talk about. In Asheville, there is a church there called Jubilee. It's church in the round. For them to raise money to increase their church and so forth and change their church, Bob did a play. It was called Murder in the Cafe Noir. Anybody aware of that play? That's how bad it was. The sets were built were terrible. They were shabby and everything else. But he did it so the church could raise money, and they did. I was in that play with him, and one of the stunts that I pulled on Bob, because he was always pulling stunts on everybody else, as Wes has stated. The last night of the play, we set up in a bar. I changed all the liquor bottles for real liquor. So every time somebody sat down at the bar and had a drink, they literally had a drink. So by the end of the play, everybody was not really feeling real bad. But that was the only night that we got 3 standing ovations. He did things like that. He taught, he did theater in Hendersonville. He taught. I can't remember the name. Do you remember what it was? Was that what it was? But he did a lot of things like that. A lot of the things that went on at the Black Box, I was there. because Bob was always getting tickets. The students were going, you gotta come see, We would go to Sardis, we would go to ACT, NC Stage, all of the local theaters. He was part of them. In some way or another, he was a part of it. So Brevard reached much farther than people realize or can even fathom, I think, because of the people that Bob had contact with. I'm not sure how many of you ever knew him personally, but he had a fantastic sense of humor. He put himself through college, working in Fire Island as a stand-up comedian, doing Sophie Tucker jokes. There will be people here who I see that know who I'm talking about when I say Sophie Tucker, because I see the smiles on their face. A lot of the people here are too young to even know who she was, but she was a very risque comedian. And Bob knew every one of her routines and could recite them right off the top of his head. So tonight, I'm here just to say thank you to Brevard College for giving the community Bob. Thank you.
Congratulations to our 2023 Gallery Distinguished Alumni and Faculty Inductees. I would like to now ask Miranda Nash, Director of Athletics, to begin the Athletics Hall of Fame induction.
Thank you, Megan, and good evening, everyone. The Athletics Hall of Fame is held in reserve as the highest athletics recognition bestowed by Brevard College. It seeks to honor alumni, coaches, and friends of the college who demonstrated exceptional personal achievement and have made distinctive contributions to the advancement of intercollegiate athletics. Since inception, the Athletics Hall of Fame has 45 Hall of Famers inducted. Today, we'll proudly induct our 46th, 47th, and 48th Hall of Famers. Our first inductee is Scott Dvorak. This is from cross country and track and field. He's a 1989 graduate of Brevard College, a two-time All-American and part of BCU's 1987 National Championship cross country team under Brevard College Hall of Fame head coach Dave Brinker. Scott was also an accomplished member of the track and field team as one of the top runners to come through Brevard's illustrious distance running program. Following graduation from Brevard, Scott was an all-conference performer at NC State and embarked on a 10-year international professional racing career where he was working as a 5-time member of USA national teams in both track and road racing. In 1996, he also qualified for the U.S. Olympic trials in the 5,000 meters. Scott is the founder of the Charlotte Running Company, which has 4 locations and was named the #1 running specialty store in the U.S. in 2021. To tell you more and to present Scott to the Hall of Fame, please help me welcome Jeff Brewer, Brevard College class of 1990.
What a privilege and honor it is to be here tonight. My name is Jeff Brewer, and I'm a graduate in 1990 when Brevard was 2 years, and it changed my life, and I owe it to Scott. And here's how. I first met Scott when I showed up to cross-country practice to try out. But does anybody ever actually try out for cross-country practice? It's so difficult. If you survive the first week, they let you stay on. But I met Scott at cross-country practice at Orange Park, which is a suburb of Jacksonville, in 1984. I didn't know what I was doing, but like most teenagers at the time, I thought that I did. But Scott was there to guide me in my running career. He was a sophomore, I was a freshman. And he was the top sophomore on our team. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. So I knew immediately, not only was he good looking, he dressed well, but he was a great runner. So I immediately started to learn from Scott. Scott, how do we do this? How do I get better? How do I grow? So first year went by and he said, well, it's summertime, so now we have to do our summer training, our base running. And that required 800 miles over 100 days in the summertime. Like, are we kidding? Really? And he said, yep, that's what we do. So every morning in the summertime, we'd get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and we would run 5, 10, 8 miles, just depending on the day. As we grew and grew and grew through high school, his senior year, I was a junior. We were the best team in the state of Florida. I mean, we were untouchable. And we went to the state meet. We were very confident in our ability. And the way cross country works, you have 5 runners, and you count the top 5, you count their places. Well, our top 4 runners came through. Scott was number 1. But our 5th runner dropped out of the race at the state meet. And it was a very disappointing day for us. And that day, Scott and I bonded in a way that you can only bond when you go through suffering and pain and sorrow and disappointment. And he became a friend to me in a way that a lifelong friend can only be established through something like that. He was a mentor, he was a friend, and then he went off to college at Brevard. I ran my senior year, and I had a good senior year. And Coach Dave Rinker and Scott called me up one night and said, hey, would you consider coming to Brevard to run? Because at the time, it was an elite running club established by Coach Whittick and Coach Rinker. It was phenomenal. The runners that came through here, it was amazing. So to be part of that club was quite an invitation. And what I didn't know is that it would change my life. Scott became a big brother to me at that time as I learned how to transition. I had a lot to learn. As Dr. Brevard was saying, there's a lot of opportunity to learn in college. I had a lot to learn, and I learned a lot through the discipline of running. But Scott, he was a mentor to me. He was a friend, and when he invited me to Brevard College, he became my brother. Because Brevard College changed my life in a way that I had no idea. I established a love for the mountains, a love for running trails, a love for nature, a love for fellow human beings. And Scott went on to follow his passion. I mean, he's an incredible example of what the American dream is, like the Perez's spoke of earlier. He started his own company, his own running store. And it's one of the best running stores in America, Charlotte Running Company. If you're in Charlotte, you should stop by and check it out. He not only has an incredible running store, he has an incredible wife, an incredible family. He dresses like a champ. I always admire the way he dresses. He does everything with excellence and integrity. And speaking of integrity, one of the things that Scott and I bonded in is our mothers taught us to treat people the way that we would want to be treated. And Scott does that. And he even nicknamed me his protege, going up through college and through high school. So he's an incredible friend, he's an incredible brother, he's an incredible mentor. And I would like to welcome him to the stage to share his speech on what does it mean to be a Hall of Fame runner, Scott Dvorak.
Thank you, Jeff. He was my protege. I tried to teach him everything I could about running. And he was a pretty good runner himself. He actually missed my high school record by 1 second. I didn't teach him everything. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate y'all coming here. Thank you for the warm introduction, Jeff. It's truly an honor and a privilege for me to stand here before you tonight as an inductee into the Brevard College Athletics Hall of Fame. I'm deeply grateful for this recognition, and I'm thrilled to share this moment with all the other deserving inductees and all of you, as well as my friends, family, coaches, teammates who have played a significant role in my journey. My story with Brevard College actually began when I was 14, when I began attending what was then called the Florida Distance Runners Camp. And it was called that because there's no hills in Florida, and a throng of high school runners would come up here every summer and train. Little did I know the beautiful campus nestled in the mountains would become an integral part of my life's journey. It was during these early days that my high school coach, a guy named Bob Hands, introduced me to Brevard and the world of distance running. That first summer camp, I also watched the 1984 Olympics on TV, and it was then that I began to dream. I began to have my own Olympic dream. Coach Hands not only taught me how to train and race, but he also instilled in me a deep appreciation for the history and culture of running. It did become my passion. And while Coach Hands is no longer with us, I know he's watching over me, and with immense pride. Those summer camps at Brevard ignited a passion for running that has burned with me ever since. I wasn't a superstar out of high school. I had run respectable times, but I wasn't being flooded with scholarship offers. But it was my passion that drove me to want to continue running in college and later as a professional. When it came time to choose a college, Brevard was an easy decision. I was aware of the dynasty the Brevard cross-country program had built under Coach Whittick, and I developed a bond with both coaches Whittick and Rinker during my time coming to the running camps. During my 2 years at Brevard, I went from being 5th place in the Florida State High School meet to achieving a remarkable 6th in the nation at the NJCAA cross-country championships. Brevard College, with its supportive community and dedicated coaches, was the ideal environment for my growth as an athlete. And I'll never forget the 1987 national championships. It was a true Cinderella story. We were the underdogs. We were a group of young, all-American men going up against teams comprised mostly of foreign athletes. I think our best ranking going into that meet was probably 5th. No one picked us to win. But we believed in ourselves. And I'll never forget it. During that race, you could feel the crowd change their opinion of who was going to win. They felt the momentum. And we went from not hearing Brevard at all to people yelling Brevard. And it was amazing. Amazing. That day we defied the odds. And it remains one of the proudest moments of my athletic career. When I left Brevard, I continued my running journey at NC State University. But I soon realized that the energy and connections that I had had at Brevard were irrevocable. It was a pivotal moment when I decided to seek change. I wanted to continue running, but I just didn't feel like I could do it under the program that I was training, which was NC State. And it was at that point that I crossed paths with an individual named Jim Cooper. Jim was a former nationally ranked steeplechaser. He had had his own Olympic dreams. I finished 4th in the Olympic trials at one point, just missing the team. And I basically called him up and asked him if he wanted a hobby, because I knew, he was done running, and maybe he might share some wisdom. And Jim said, "I'll get back to you." He didn't say yes right away. And I think, he wanted to check me out. I know he called people that knew me, and that's what they thought about me. Fortunately for me, he said he would do it. And Jim not only coached me, he also served as one of my biggest cheerleaders. One of the things he used to do, Jim was a traveling salesman at the time. Spent a lot of time in the car. And he would make these cassette tapes that were basically pump-up tapes. I can only imagine him sitting in the car going, "You're bad, you're going to top, you can't be stopped." Like, that was his mantra. He would yell at me all the time. And it was special. I would listen to the tapes on the way to meetings. And it was just an amazing thing to have someone that invested in you. Under Jim's guidance, some of my best years in running came defying my own limitations. His belief in me was a driving force, and I'll forever be grateful for his dedication and support. I'd like to acknowledge Jim. He's sitting in the back there. Wave a hand, Jim. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude. My family, my parents, and stepmother have been unwavering in their support and nurturing of my love of sports and of my running career. My father's competitive spirit inspired me to push myself to new heights. I learned at a young age that it was okay to flip the Monopoly game over if you were losing. Their presence in both my triumphs and setbacks has meant the world to me. And this dedication was never more evident than at the 1987 Olympic trials. This part gets really hard. My heat in 5,000 meters was in Atlanta that year. It was the middle of July, and my heat was at 5:30 in the afternoon. Obviously, it wasn't a distance runner that was making the schedule. And unfortunately, about halfway through the race, I fell out with heat exhaustion. They carried me off the track. And it took me to a medical room. I spent about what seemed like an eternity, I don't know how long it was. Had an IV in each arm, and I had a lot of time to sit there and kind of reflect. It's hard when you invest so much time on a goal. And so anticlimactic. Or so I was pretty down, you know. It was rough. And my race was one of the last races of the day. And so when I was finally released to go collect my things, I walked out of the tunnel into an empty Olympic stadium. There was no one. And I felt pretty alone. Then I heard my name, and I looked behind me. It was my whole family. All that loneliness washed away, all that disappointment. And when you think about what could be the toughest times in my life athletically, really kind of my life, it's also one of the best memories. Thank you on behalf of the family for being there to support me through this whole thing. To my wife, Audrey, and our children, McKenna and Gunnar, you guys never knew me as a runner. It's always been something that you knew I did, but you never really saw me do. You've always been my biggest fans, so thank you. Lastly, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Jamie Dodd and Christina Dodd for their relentless efforts in making this induction a reality. When Jamie approached me 5 years ago, saying that he wanted to submit an application on my behalf, little did we know that it would be a 5-year endeavor. But he was committed to it, and he was so committed to it that he even had an action plan in case something happened to him. He recruited a couple other teammates to submit applications in case he wasn't able to. And I mean, that's the true test of friendship, and I really appreciate his efforts. In closing, I stand here today as a testament to the power of passion and patience. My journey running in life has been shaped by the incredible individuals who have walked this path with me. My coaches, my family, my friends, and my teammates. And their unwavering support and belief in me that has brought me to this moment. As I accept this honor, I want to dedicate it to all those who have been a part of my journey. Thank you for being my guiding lights, for helping me achieve success, not just in running, but in life itself. Thank you all for being here tonight to share this special moment with me. Brevard College will forever hold a place in my heart, and I'm truly proud to be a part of this all. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Ray Gill for baseball, a 2005 summa cum laude graduate of Brevard College. A four-year starter at Brevard College, Ray registered a .339 career batting average with 66 home runs and 261 RBIs. He set school records in multiple categories, including career games played, home runs, and RBIs, and hit double-digit home runs in each of his seasons at Brevard College. As a junior in 2004, Ray was named the AAC Conference Player of the Year, First Team All-Region, and Second Team All-American. Ray helped lead the Tornadoes to Conference Tournament Championship in 2002 and 2005, and a regular season conference title in 2004. In all four of Ray's seasons at BC, the Tornadoes advanced the regionals of the national tournament. Following graduation, Ray was drafted in the 27th round of the Major League Baseball draft by the San Diego Padres, and went on to play professional baseball. An active presence here in the Brevard College community, Ray has also been the longtime public address announcer for Tornadoes football and basketball games. To tell you more and to present Ray to the Hall of Fame, please welcome Matt May, Brevard College class of 2005 to the stage.
I'd just like to start by saying how awesome it is to be here with you all tonight to share in the celebration of our recipients, award recipients, and inductees into the Hall of Fame. You know, when Ray called me and told me he was going to be inducted tonight, the first thing that came to my mind after the immediate excitement and elation for him was, how in the world do you introduce Ray Gill properly in just a few minutes? What an impossible task he laid in front of me that night on the phone. I think I'm going to attempt to do that tonight by sharing with you all how he elected to introduce himself to the campus, the community, and our program back in the fall of 2001. You see, Ray and I came in together as freshmen that fall, and we were joining a program rich in tradition, right? And although it had been a four-year institution for just a couple of years, went to the 1998 Junior College World Series with the defending conference champions, and returned a ton of key contributors from that team, many of which are here with us tonight. Probably wasn't a whole lot of time on the field for freshmen. But Ray rolled onto campus as only Ray would in a 1987 blue Nissan with a license plate as if he was still roaming the parking lots of Franklin High School that read 3A MVP. That was Ray. You know, we didn't communicate back then via text message or social media. AOL Instant Messenger was a big thing, right? That's how we got the word out. You had a screen name. And Ray didn't go with something that was generic like Brevard Baseball 39 or Ray Gill 1982. Buff Daddy 3554 was what he was known as on the interwebs back in the early 2000s. That was Ray. When it came time for us to determine what song we wanted as our walk-up song, right? What song would be played when our name was announced for it back here at home. It wasn't a heavy metal hit or a classic rock song that so many of us decided to do. Ray picked an entrance song of a nearly 500-pound professional wrestler by the name of The Big Show. Had not played a collegiate out in his life, and this is what he thinks he's going to play. He's going to come up to the plate to this. That was right. And I share that with you all because I don't know if it was an inner confidence that he had in himself that very few of us here tonight can fully understand, or if it was what I would like to call like a comedic unawareness for how those things may look to somebody that didn't know him. But whatever it was, it gave Ray the keys to unlock the toolbox to craft what I believe is the single greatest career that an individual has had here that's a member of a team sport. To me, Ray, there's two sides of it, right? On a baseball field, he was Superman. There's nothing that he could not do. His counting numbers speak for themselves. A career 339, 66 home runs, 261 RBIs. The list goes on and on. He holds every single record that this great college has as an offensive player, many of which will never even be approached, much less broken. He was the best offensive player on every single collegiate baseball field he ever stepped foot on. And I don't think that's debatable. He was that good. The other side of Ray, the best way I can put it to everyone who didn't live it with him, it's like the lead actor of an action movie, right? We've all sat down to watch an action thriller, and the lead role ends up on the wing of an airplane or sprinting down the roof of a high-speed train. It's not real, right? I mean, you can't do that. But you're investing 2.5, 3 hours, and you want the good guy to win. So you believe. And the very best ones, the best actors, they make you think that the impossible is possible. And for us, that was great too. I mean, here's a guy that the conference put on a home run derby one year. Ray wins the home run derby. He looks out at our assistant coach, Coach Anderson. He's throwing to him. He says, "Coach, throw me a couple more." Ray turns around and left-handed. I've never seen Ray hit left-handed in my life on a field. And on the second or third pitch, he hits one out of a professional ballpark left-handed. There's 11 other teams sitting there. They got to be like, "What is this real? Is this out of a movie?" I mean, here's a guy that has tormented them for the last 3 years as the most feared right-handed hitter in our conference. And he turns around and hits one 400 feet left-handed. And meanwhile, we were all just sitting over there in our section. We was like, "Nah, that's right." Going into our senior year, following his junior season, the year that he was an All-American and would propel him to be drafted in the following year's June draft by the San Diego Padres, Ray shows up to campus, and he's not talking about what he needs to work on as an offensive player. He goes to our coaching staff and says, "I think I need to pitch." What? He could pitch. And thankfully for us, our coaching staff entertained such a ridiculous idea. Because that next spring, he is our unquestioned ace on the mound, our best pitcher. Who does that? In what world can that happen? To me, there's two places in America that makes sense. Hollywood, California, and a small town in western North Carolina called Brevard. That was great. I'd like to close and bring Ray up tonight with one more story, if you'll allow me. I think it epitomizes who Ray was as a player, who he still is as a person. It's not only Ray's story, but there's about 10 or 12 guys that have come in for tonight to be here for Ray's induction. And this is their story too. And whether you were on this team or you had graduated the year previously, if you shared the uniform with him, this is about you too. You see, going into our senior season, we had one goal as a team, right? One goal as a senior class. We were going to win the conference tournament. And after that, we go to the regionals, the national tournament, let the chips fall where they may. What we had wanted as freshmen, that was back-to-back for the program, we were going to bookend our careers as champions. That was the standard in the early 2000s as our program. We didn't sign on when Ray rolled onto campus as a 3A MVP 4 years previously. We didn't sign on to hope to compete for titles. The expectation was we would win them. And our class was not going to fall short of that standard. And so game one of the conference tournament, who gets the ball on the mound with our newfound ace? Ray. And he dominates King College. I mean, he dominates. Complete game performance, probably 110, 115 pitches. We cruise 9-1. Their only run comes in the ninth inning, and we're off to the races. Fast forward to championship Saturday. There's two teams left. There's us, and we've got to be beaten twice, and our old nemesis, Tennessee Wesleyan. You see, I think if we were being honest about it, we measured ourselves on how we did against them. And I think they'd say the same about how they did against us. You know, how fitting that those were the two teams left that year. And like I said, they had to beat us twice. Game one, we come out on fire. We're up 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. The finish line is right in front of us. The gold trophy, we can reach out and touch it. But Wesleyan's not going to go quietly. They keep coming. They come back, they tie the game, they take the lead, they extend the lead. And all while this is happening, our coaching staff is bringing every available pitcher that we have to try to stop the lead. Nothing works. Right? Game 1 ends, we lose 13-8. And now our backs are against the wall. Momentum's on the other side. Right? One game, regional seeding, national tournament, conference championship on the line, but we don't have anybody to pitch in the next game. We got nobody left. If I remember right, there were really two choices. We could go to a seldomly used freshman right-hander, who the stage is probably going to be a little too big for him. Or we could see what Ray's got left in the tank on 2 days rest after throwing about 115 pitches. Our head coach, Coach Payne, and Ray have a brief discussion. Ray sticks his hand out and says, "Give me the ball." Now, Cardinal Park in Johnson City, Tennessee, there was a miles per hour sign on the scoreboard. And thankfully for us, it was not operable, not functioning properly in the early going of game 2. Because if it was, we would have seen a lot of 72, 70. I'm saying, like, Ray is not coming anywhere close to breaking 80 miles an hour. And Wesleyan is teeing off. They're hitting balls all over the place. They scored 2 in the first inning, should have been 4 or 5. And in the top of the third, there's a runner on second base and 2 outs. Line drive single hit the left, and our left fielder, Zach Tolbert, who drove 5.5 hours to be here tonight, comes up and throws what should have been a one-hot strike to me at the plate. I'm catching. But the ball hits the lip where the grass and the dirt circle around the plate meet, bounces over my head. 3-0. Ray's pitching, he's backing me up, and Wesleyan comes pouring out of their dugout in celebration. One of their players shoves Ray, shoves him in the back. We get the next out and come in. We're shell-shocked, man. This is how this is going to end on this stage, to this team, in this fashion. You see, there were some times when Ray, the Superman on the baseball field, and the award-winning actor out of a movie, they converged, and they became one. And when that happened, magic took place. And this was one of those times. I get chills thinking about it. What a moment. Ray comes down the steps of the dugout, he gets everybody together, and he says, "Fellas, if you get me those 3 runs back, we'll win." I mean, what choice did we have, right? We knew where we had to get to. We just didn't know how to get there as a team. So we did what we always did when we were in a tight spot. We listened to him. And we listened to him because we believed him. We believed him because we trusted him. It wasn't that long and we had gotten those 3 runs back for him. And we got a few more, and we got a few more. You see, Tennessee Wesleyan did not score again in that game, in that do or die final. And Ray Gill did not come off the mound. On the last pitch in the 9th inning, as the out was about to be made, I was coming running out from behind the plate to make sure I was going to be at or near the bottom of the dog pile that was about to take place. I took one more glance up at the scoreboard on my way out to the mound. And it wasn't to see the final score that read Brevard 14, Tennessee Wesleyan 3. But it was to look at that miles per hour sign that had been inoperable for a large majority of the contest. You see, around the bottom of the 7th and the top of the 8th inning, it started functioning again. Spectators could see how hard the previous pitch was. And after going 4 for 6 in that second game at the plate and driving in 3 runs of his own, on what was maybe his 250th pitch in 4 days, the last one out of Ray Gill's right hand to win us the championship, 89 miles an hour. That's magic. And that's great. Pure magic. And if you shared a uniform with him in the early 2000s, that was us too. And that was us because he took us there. It is my distinct honor and pleasure tonight to formally introduce to you all the 3A MVP, Buff Daddy 3554, and the Big Show. He's the 2004 Appalachian Athletic Conference Player of the Year and NAI All-American. He's our home run king. He's Rebecca's husband and Byron and Hannah's father. He's my teammate, he's my friend, and he is finally a Brevard College Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ray Gill.
I'm not sure how I can follow that up. Matt called me a couple of days ago. He said, "Do you want to see my notes of what I'm going to say?" And I said, "No, I want to hear it for the first time." So you can see there was a reason I asked him to introduce me tonight. Matt and his family drove down 7 hours from the Wilmington area in a town called Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina, if you know where that is. Drove 7 hours with 3 kids under the age of 6. If any parents in here know what that's like, that's dedication there. I got to tell a quick story how I met Matt. Freshman year, we come in, like he said. First day, I'm out throwing my East Beam over there with my roommate at the time. And we're playing catch, and I overthrew our roommate, or my roommate, and the ball goes through the windshield of a 98 Chevy Cavalier. And I'm thinking, this is a great way to start my career here at Brevard College. I walk around the car, and I see his license plate. It says Line Drive. So I figured it was a baseball player. Figured out it was Matt. I had not met him yet, so I walk up to the second floor of East Beam, and I'm nervous. I haven't met him yet, and I figured out it was him. I walk in his room, and I said, introduced myself, and I said, "Do you drive the 98 Chevy Cavalier out there?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but I threw a baseball through the windshield." He looks at me and says, "That's all right, man. Sit down here and play some video games." Just like that. I don't know that he went out to his car and even checked on his windshield. But that was I knew right then that me and him would have a special bond. I'd like to thank Brevard College, the athletic department, and I want to congratulate the other athletic inductees, Scott and Joe, this evening. And just to let everyone know how truly honored I am to be here tonight. I've been coming to this event for quite a while, and I've heard many stories over the years. I've probably been to 15 of these over the last 15, 16 years. I've heard a lot of stories, met a lot of current inductees over the years. And it's just absolutely amazing that I'm standing up here tonight. Obviously, I played the game of baseball. That's a game that all these guys over here and some of you may have played when you were a kid. It's a game. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be a game. Never in my life did I think a game would turn into what it has, and for me standing up here tonight and everything in between. 25 home runs, 81 RBIs, 66 home runs for a career, 261 RBIs. Those are great numbers, but to me tonight, honestly, the most important number for me is the number 10. Number 10 is the number of former teammates that came back this evening. And there's many others that had called, reached out to me who just simply could not be here tonight. Baseball to me is the epitome of a team sport. It's a game that's designed to fail. Not any other sport in life that you're playing a game that's designed to fail. If you fail a certain number of times, you actually succeed. Without my teammates, there's absolutely no way that I would be up here tonight and have the individual statistics that I had. So for me, this reward is just as much my teammates as it is mine. My story I wanted to share, and it kind of gets to me a little bit on how I found Brevard College. It wasn't this signed as a junior or senior in high school. My senior year, I played, as Matt mentioned, we won the state championship at Franklin High School just over the mountain. That team, we had 7 seniors that signed to play college baseball. I kind of got lost in the recruiting process. A lot of the attention was at some of the other players that went on and signed. And I found myself about 3 weeks to go before school started in the fall. I didn't have a place to go. I was actually this close to just kind of giving up on college, giving up on baseball, and just going into the workforce. That summer, I played for a summer baseball coach. Zach's here tonight. He knows who that is. Martin Speaks. His job was to have these unsigned seniors play, and his job was to try to get you in college somewhere. So he calls me one day, it's towards the end of the summer. He says, "What about Brevard? Would you want to go see Brevard?" And I said, "Sure." He's just trying to help me out. I said, "Sure, let's go down there." And for me, the key word tonight is opportunity, and I'll mention that a few times throughout this evening. I said, "Yeah, let's go to Brevard." Now, coming from Franklin High School, we used to play Brevard in football and baseball. So I knew 2 things about Brevard. I knew where the high school was, and I knew where the Cardinal restaurant was, Cardinal Drive. We'd always eat there at the games. I knew nothing about white squirrels, knew nothing about waterfalls, definitely knew nothing about the college. So I came to campus, again, 2.5, 3 weeks before school started. I met Coach Gil Payne at the time. And he was pretty honest with me. It was the end of the summer. He said that there would be an opportunity to come and play. Didn't have a lot of scholarship money left over. Again, 2.5 weeks to go when we started school. He said that he had a senior first baseman at the time who I actually played golf with today, Corey Hughes. He said that he was an All-American, hit a lot of home runs, and he was looking for someone to try to fill that spot. He never said that you'll play right away, never promised anything, but he said you had an opportunity, and for me, that was all I needed. I signed to go to Brevard the next day, and just had no clue what was awaiting for me. Going into my freshman year, we go down to Georgia Southwestern State University down in Americus, Georgia. All right? It's January 30th. We did not play a home game. Very too cold and snow on the ground, so we go down south. Those guys have been playing for 2 or 3 weeks practicing. And I look at the lineup card, and my name is there, starting as a freshman. What an honor. I mean, I was thrilled to death. We were set to play 4 games that weekend. After the first 3 games that I played, I was 0 for 11 with 8 strikeouts. All right? So that's how my career started. Needless to say, I did not play the 4th game. I don't think I even took my turf shoes off. I knew I was not playing. On the way home, I'm thinking I'm never going to play again, ever. So on the way home, these guys will love this story. We always stop at a Cracker Barrel or a restaurant to have a meal as a team. So we're there. It's an hour or 2 after we lost all 4 games. So we're sitting there. The way that Coach Payne, Coach Anderson used to do it, he would say, guys, you got $10 and a drink. All right, that means you get anything up to $10, that's a drink. Well, me having the stellar performance that I just had for those 3 games, I wasn't hungry. The only thing I ordered was a $1.99 side salad. All right, that was it. I didn't even finish the side salad. We got on the bus, and when Coach Payne got the receipt, of course, it's this long because we had 50-something players. He looks at it, and it's got all these meals, and down at the bottom it says extra side salad. So I think that kind of ticked him off a little bit because we just lost 4. And who's going to order something extra after we just lost 4 games? So he gets on the bus and he says, I want to know who got these extra side salad. So everybody's looking around, and I raise my hand. And the look that I got from him, I'm like, great. Obviously went 0 for 11. I ordered a side salad. There's no way I'm ever playing again. So I get home. The next week, we go down to Little Rock, and Coach Payne gives me another opportunity. There's that word again. I got my first college hit. I'd like to say that it was a 450-foot towering home run. It wasn't. It was what we call a Texas leaguer, a blooper to right field that I almost got thrown out going to first. Going to first base. I want to interject something here. When I was a freshman, I was 6'3", 295 pounds. I was a bald head, had a goatee. You guys remember the box of Butterbean? I kind of favored him quite a bit. I was not brought here to steal bases. I was brought here to hit the ball out of the park. So about a week later, we went down to Alabama. I hit my first home run and kind of settled in. Had a good freshman year, a little bit better sophomore year, but I had aspirations of wanting to play professional baseball, as every kid does. But I knew that I needed to drop some weight. I needed to be able to hit the ball to 400 foot and not get thrown out going second. So that summer, I was going to play with a lot of these guys in Johnson City, Kingsport, Tennessee, in summer ball. And I told myself, I've got to get in shape. And so I made a pack right there. No Debbie cakes, no sodas, no pizza. Like, we're going to do this. So that summer, I dropped 60 pounds. I got down to 235 pounds. I was lifting weights. Scott, I started running a little bit. I'm a runner now, but back then I did not like running. Running wasn't punishment for us. But I started jogging a little bit. The weight just came off. And anyway, I got myself in shape. So I got back after that summer, ready to go for my junior year. So again, I came back in shape. I grew my hair out. I had a 6-pack. I got a tan. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. I was in that. Rough Daddy, 35, 54. So you know, I have an extra set of confidence there. Right? So I move it in, right before school starts. I meet this girl. Okay? Now I wasn't very experienced in the dating game in high school or first years of college, but I met this girl. She was having a good time one night, bubbling down the village walkway, coming up, talking, laughing. And I'm like, is this flirting? I'm not really sure, but I thought it was. So I saw an opportunity, right? Well, as Matt mentioned, I did not know how he was going to bring that up. I actually had it here. That's how much we're alike. Back then, we didn't have text messaging, Facebook, Instagram, whatever else is out there. I asked her out on AOL Instant Messenger. I said, would you like to go to dinner? She said yes. So we go to dinner at this little place called Caruso's in town. It's an Italian restaurant. We had our first date, and a week later it closed for good. I thought, wow, maybe that's a sign. But 20 years later, 16 years of marriage with 2 beautiful children, my wife Rebecca is sitting here tonight, and I'd like to recognize my beautiful bride, Rebecca. All right, back to baseball. That's what we're here for, right? So, going to my junior year, and these guys can attest this. Back then, we had a fall season. And fall was a combination of playing like 95 scrimmage games against each other. It got boring. I probably hit 200 every fall. I don't even think I hit a home run in the fall. I was just very bad in the fall, all right? So, Coach Payne sat me down before we were going home for Christmas break, getting ready to go for our junior year. And he says, hey, you had a good freshman, sophomore year. He says, I'm a little worried about you. You know, you look good, you dropped all this weight. I'm worried if you lost your power. You know, I hit 10 and 15 home runs. He said, I know you got a girlfriend. He said, I just don't want her to be distracted. I said, Coach, I'll be fine. You know, just let me get home. You know, fall's always bad. So we come back for our spring, and guess where we go back? We go back to Georgia Southwestern State University. All right? You guys remember what I just told you I did 2 years prior to that. So I was on the mission. We go down there. Most importantly, our team won 3 out of the 4 games that year. My first at-bat, first pitch I saw, I hit one of the farthest home runs I've ever hit. And for me, that was a confidence booster saying, hey, I'm ready to go. Somebody asked me that they wanted me to share my most memorable home run, and a lot of the guys have been talking about this today. For me, it was my junior year. We were playing against Bluefield right out here at the college. I was sitting on 45 career home runs and 20 single-season home runs that year. We were in line to win the conference championship. We had to win that 3rd game against Bluefield. And it came down to the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. We're down 1 run. Every kid's dreaming. I was the 4th hitter up that inning. The first 2 hitters got out, so there's 2 outs. And Travis Free, who's here tonight, he comes up, and he hits, the way I remember it, he hits a ground ball to the middle. You know, if you get a base hit, kind of talk, you know, kind of banana out, as they say, and try to go to second. The shortstop or second baseman made an unbelievable play, comes up and throws it, and it was a bang-bang play at first base. Travis was safe, but it was a lot closer than it should be because he thought the ball had gotten through. So Travis is on first. Here comes the big show, as Matt said. The song's playing, everything's in, I'm hyped, ready to go. I watched the first pitch, it was a strike. I thought it was a little inside. Of course, I'm not going to tell the umpire that too much. And I scooted back towards the back into the batter's box 6 inches. And I dared that guy to throw it again. And this was a guy, we talked about it last night, that was throwing really hard as a closer. He threw the same pitch, and I hit it 450 feet for a walk-off home run. That home run did several things. It broke the career home run record, tied the single-season home run record, clinched the conference championship because we won the game, but most importantly as a team, we clinched the conference championship for all of us. So I wanted to share that as my most memorable home run. And that was the only walk-off home run I ever hit in college or professional baseball or high school. So I cherish that quite a bit. My senior year, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I had a down year offensively that year. I finished with only 16 home runs that year and 60-something RBIs. There was a lot of talk about me getting drafted. A lot of, I didn't really like a lot of the attention. I was more just go out and kind of play the game. But, the more and more scouts started to come to games and this and that. And, so I didn't have a great year offensively, but like Matt said, I felt like I could help the team in other ways. And again, I got the opportunity to pitch. And that was the coolest thing ever because the pitchers, if you were a pitcher, you always had to run a lot of practice and you never got to do anything fun except throw and run. For me, I had to pitch the first game and play first base the second game and third game. And so that was really cool for me to be a pitcher and end up, I think that year I went 8-2 on the mound. So I played first base, which if you know about baseball, you really don't use your arm for 4 years. I developed a really nasty knuckleball over there. And when I pitched, Matt and Andrew, they usually caught me, but they would never call it knuckleball because I don't think that they could catch it. But every once in a while, I would just throw it anyway and they would put down something else. But obviously, it was mentioned tonight that I got drafted. About a month after my senior year ended, I I stayed here in Brevard to kind of work out because there was a chance I was going to be drafted. There were 3 or 4 Major League Baseball teams talking to me at the time, but I knew I probably had the best shot for the Padres. As I'm sitting there, back then again, there wasn't social media or anything like that. I didn't watch it on the Sports Center or anything like that. I'm watching it on a computer. Now, I see the rounds going by, and I knew I'd kind of be somewhere 20, 25th, somewhere there, and that came and went. I'm sitting there and just kind of getting frustrated. And all of a sudden, it came across the computer with in the 27th round, the San Diego Padres select, and my computer froze. Internet's great around here sometimes, right? It froze. And I'm trying to refresh and all this. And finally, I heard it, and it said, the San Diego Padres select Ernest Gill. Now, Ernest is my first legal name, but at that point, I don't care what they call me. So about a few minutes later, I got a call from the scout, and he said, congratulations, you've been drafted. We need you in Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow at 3 p.m. At 22 years old, I'd never been on an airplane, okay? I had to leave here, drive to Franklin. We had a little get-together there with my family and some friends, and then the next morning, I flew out of Asheville Airport. So I am nervous. I was more nervous getting on a plane than I was seeing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I get on the plane, we get in the air, it's a short ride into Houston and then into Phoenix. And they were just going to show like one in-flight movie. It wasn't you could pick and choose. So they come on, the screen comes up, I'm shaking, I'm nervous. The movie they decided to show was Castaway. Right? So for somebody that's never been on an airplane, that's probably not the most appropriate. So I got to Phoenix, played 2.5 years of professional baseball before retiring from my first career at the age of 24. I was making $600 a month playing professional baseball, and I thought it was kind of time to do something else. I got involved in coaching American Legion Baseball. Matter of fact, me and Matt coached for 2 years, and then I ended up coaching for another 8, so I coached 10 years of American Legion Baseball. And then I decided to take a step down from that, as my son was 2 or 3 at the time, and I figured if he had any of his daddy's blood, he'd probably be ready to play baseball or t-ball in a couple of years. So I got into that, and then now my involvement with baseball is I'm the acting president of Transylvania County Little League here, and so I'm really glad to do that. I'll probably be down there until they don't want me down there anymore. So really glad to give back to the community and still involved in some way. For me in the classroom, I strive to be as good as a student as I was a player on the ball field. I really kind of epitomized what a student athlete was. I knew that there was a chance to play professional baseball, but there's some crazy statistic that less than like 0.05% of people will ever get a chance to play college, professional, or Major League Baseball. I ended up graduating with honors, summa cum laude, ODK, and I was more proud of that than my baseball accomplishments. I was the first one from my family to go to college and to graduate from college. So to me, that would have meant way more than any baseball accomplishments. I was involved in Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and for me, cool thing that I did is I gave over 100 tours to prospective students while they were here. I'm not sure if they still do that or what they're called, but back then it was called the Student Ambassadors and President's Circle. Now, if you haven't figured out yet, I like to talk. When I was told I had 5 minutes, I said, I can't even say hello in 5 minutes. And I love Brevard College, so I thought, what better way? So I was able to give tours to prospective students, and I like to think I had a small part of some of them being here tonight. For me, Brevard College is everything. It has been, it still is. My wife and I, when we got married in 2007, we decided where we're going to live. I was from Franklin, she was from Knoxville. I said, well, we fell in love with Brevard, why don't we try it here until we can? And so we're still here many years later. From a high school senior looking for an opportunity 2.5 weeks ago before school started to where I'm standing today, I owe it all to Brevard College. I met my wife, met my lifelong friends. I had many opportunities along the way. My kids are growing up on campus. You've seen them, football, basketball, everywhere. We're like the token Brevard College family. We're here, as Miranda mentioned, I did PA for football and basketball. A lot of people say, why don't you do baseball? Football and basketball, they always play at night on the weekends, and baseball is always playing at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday when I have to work. But I'm still pretty involved with the baseball team. I usually put on a golf tournament for them every year. Tomorrow morning, we'll have 108 players up at Coniston Falls ready to go. This is the 11th year I've done that, so it's kind of my way of giving back to the baseball team. I've been a part of Brevard College since 2001 and hope to be a part of it for the rest of my life. I'd like to once again thank Brevard College, the athletic department, Joe and Scott, and your inductions as well. And I'd like to thank my parents who gave me the opportunities that they never had. My dad, Ray, is here tonight. I was always known as Little Ray. He was Big Ray. I want to thank him for Always going on the field for me. He's a carpenter. He's done construction work his entire life. Since he was 18 years old, he's still doing it. He's in his 70s. Not once did I ever, when he came home tired from work, and I wanted to go to the ball field, did he not let me go. And thank him for always giving me that one extra bucket, because it was always one more. I'd like to thank my wife and kids, Byron and Hannah, Rebecca. They keep me going each and every day. And what more could a guy ask for from a game that he played as a young kid? I've been truly blessed in many ways from the game of baseball, and just very thankful to be here tonight. Go Natives.
An experiential program known as Willie here at Brevard College. A multiple-time national champion while at Brevard College, Joe won the first individual national titles in women's competition in school history at the 2009 USA Cycling Collegiate Mountain Bike National Championships. That year, she won the dual slalom national title along with the women's Omnium National Championship, presented to the best overall mountain bike rider. In 2009, Joe won the individual Omnium title for the second straight year to help lead the Tornadoes to the team national championship, the first in school history. After winning her second individual Omnium title and her fourth overall career national championship, Joe was featured in Sports Illustrated magazine. In total, Joe won 4 individual national titles in the 2019 national championship. She becomes the 4th inductee from Brevard College's prestigious cycling program, joining her head coach, Thad Walker, the 2019, and her teammate Tristan Powell. To tell you more and to present Joe to the Hall of Fame, please welcome Robert Dye, Director of First Year Experience and Professor Emeritus of Wilderness Leadership and Experiential Education at Brevard College.
Thanks, everybody. So yeah, I'm Robert Dye, and I came to Brevard in 1999, so I've been here a minute. And for 24 years, I taught the Wilderness Leadership Program, and I'm currently in the Office of Student Success and Early Employment. I'm really happy to be introducing Joe Tuttle, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how I got to know her, because I was not in her athletic sphere. Her coach, Thad, meant a lot to Joe when he's out in California one year tonight. So in the early mid-2000s, Thad was a student in the Wilderness Leadership Program, and he graduated, went on down to the cycling team, and we stayed friends. And one day he came up to Ross Hall where I was working, and he said, Robert, one of my riders is going to be in the immersion semester with you. And I said, well, that's nice. And he said, well, it's Joe Tuttle, and y'all going to have to forgive me. I think it's a technical cycling term that Thad used. And what he said was, Robert, you need to know, Joe's kind of a badass. And I was like, well, that sounds great, because immersion semester is, it's intense. It's physically and emotionally challenging, so that sounded like a great recommendation. So a few days later, I'm walking up the hill to Ross Hall, which I'm up behind the baseball field, and someone says, hey, that's Joe. And I look over, and I didn't see what I was expecting. There was 5'3" of petite, hair in braids, she was wearing a red beret, and she was pushing her bicycle up the hill, and there was a bell on it. One of these. And I'm like, I guess that's the one, right? So I go over to try and figure out exactly what Thad was talking about. And so I'm talking, figuring out with Joe, and I said, Joe, what's up with the bell on your bicycle? I've never seen a mountain bike with a bell on it. And she said, well, Robert, in some of the races, they'll start the men first. And then the women, knowing that the men will finish and then the women will come along eventually, and they won't get anybody's way. And this is for chicken guys. Another technical mountain biking term I didn't know. I was like, Joe, what do you mean chicken guys? She says, yeah, when I pass guys out on the trail, I ring them up. So if you were a collegiate male athlete in 2009 and you heard that is the sound of your soul being crushed. The favorite look, and it's the same smile I see right now, was when Joe saw that I recognized what she was saying, and it was pure joy. And I could see that Joe was a fierce competitor, but she was one of the most joyful people that I was around, and it was really fun to have her in classes. She I discovered Joe found a lot of joy in doing hard things. And I think that's what makes a national champion, is that they find joy and fulfillment in doing hard things. And for Joe, it wasn't always winning. It was the process. It was the hard things. One of the things that I looked back and reflected about Joe is that she carried herself like a champion across campus. So she trained like a champion. She slept and she planned her recovery like a champion. She ate like a champion. She went to class. She managed her relationships on campus like a champion. And it was just a joy to have her around. 15 years ago, mountain biking, even as an activity, was a relatively new sport in America. It hadn't been around for very long. And collegiate racing was really new, and women excelling in collegiate racing was rare. And so Joe broke a lot of ground for a lot of women who continue to race at Brevard College and around the country. I had a fun dinner tonight, and I was able to interview Bridger and Arlo a little bit to ask them what kind of mom they had. And so apparently Joe's a good gardener and a great soccer coach. And I gave them a multiple choice of what kind of mom she was, and they said the best. So it's a pleasure for me to invite up my friend, graduate of the Willie program, pioneer in collegiate mountain biking, 4-time national champion, and back-to-back strongest woman cyclist in America.
It is really hard to come up here last. What an honor it is to be here today, and how special it is to be surrounded by so many amazing and inspiring people. I loved hearing all these stories. And I love being able to share this with my family, my husband Jamie, my 2 boys, Bridger and Arlo, my in-laws. Thank you all for coming. Brevard College cycling means so much more to me than just riding and racing bikes. That season in my life provided me with an outlet that changed me for the better. It gave me a feeling of worth when I always felt mediocre at best in all my other adventures in life. Mountain biking is a special sport because it is a lifelong sport that can take you to amazing places. It helped me get to many places in the United States that I probably wouldn't have ever seen otherwise. My bike has taken me to high alpine mountain summits, red rock deserts, coastal forests, mossy Pacific Northwest woods, redwood stands. The list goes on and on. Furthermore, some of my favorite people are the people that I met through my college racing days. The races were so much fun because week after week you would see the same faces. And like Jeff said, you can't help but connect with people who push you through pain with and overcome obstacles with. I'm still friends with many of them almost 15 years later. I would like to take a minute to thank a few of the people that helped me get to where I did. First off, I want to thank my parents for always being my greatest advocates and my biggest fans. Even when I was pushing limits and scaring them to death, they always held me up and encouraged greatness. Trusting your children to know their own limits is not always very easy. It's actually very difficult. And this is something I didn't have a good understanding of until I became a parent myself. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for allowing me to chase my dreams, even when they included a 20-foot Red Bull gap. I love you guys. And now for the Coach Dad, who we also used to call squirrel. I don't know if you guys knew that. I know he can't be here tonight because he's all the way in California, but I can't express enough what his coaching did for me. I believe his recent recognitions speak for themselves. First, he was inducted to the Brevard College Hall of Fame. Then the 2009 team he coached was also inducted. And now 2 of his team members, Tristan Cowie and myself, have been inducted. Now, if that doesn't scream amazing coach, then I don't know what does. Thad had a way of pushing his team to higher levels by simply being there on the side of the trail with a little squirrel smile on his face. It was kind of like this. His dedication to his team was unwavering and powerful, and his enthusiasm for cycling was contagious. I am forever grateful for him. My mouth is very dry. Sorry, guys. I also wanted to thank Christopher Herndon and Wes Dixon and all the folks at Sycamore Cycles for supporting Brevard College cycling. I knew almost nothing about bike mechanics, and I'm sure all my silly questions and my terrible bike conditions made for some giggles at the shop and with you. But you kept our whole team rolling and frequently came out to the races to cheer us on. It definitely didn't go unnoticed. Thank you. And lastly, I want to thank my professors, and especially Robert Guy. He was my immersion instructor who got to know me more so than the other ones. You gracefully dealt with my slight obsession with fitness and riding my bike. I was never a very focused student, and I have many memories of hiking trails with the Willie classes and only thinking about the sick lines that I could take if I actually had my bike with me. Brevard College and the town of Brevard itself has a special place in my heart. Brevard is unique in that it is packed full of incredibly strong, kind, and inspiring people. People who don't let a day slip by without an adventure. It's exactly what I needed to find myself and blossom into who I am today. Thank you, Brevard College, for honoring me and the fellow inductees, and thank you all for being here.
Congratulations to our entire Athletics Hall of Fame class. For some final words, please help me welcome to the stage President of Brevard College, Brevard.
So thank you all for being here tonight, for being part of this special ceremony. And to all of our honorees, we just want to thank you for allowing us to celebrate you. And we want you to know that all of you and all that you have done make us proud to be a part of this college. So one more time, please, a round of applause for all of our 2023 inductees. So before we conclude this evening, one final request. I would like to ask those who have been previously inducted into the Gallery of Distinguished Alumni, Faculty, and Staff, and the Athletics Hall of Fame to please stand so we can recognize you. All past honorees, please stand. All right, so as we conclude, one bit of housekeeping. We ask all of our honorees tonight, all our inductees tonight, right after this ceremony with your groups, to head up here above the stairwell because we want to capture photos of you and the groups that you're with. And that is everything for this evening's program. So thank you all so much for being here. We're grateful for your presence and have a wonderful homecoming weekend. Good night.